Penn State going to try and keep this lead in check. Throneberry, who's done well in relief for Penn State, as Gabe Sotrace takes the plate.
Sotrace getting on base twice via walk, scoring a run in the fourth inning.
And that ball is swung on into right center, carrying all the way back to the morning track. And Billy Gerlot is under it for out number one. So a deep fly ball. Wolverines continuing to make noise. And onto the mound now, Connor Throneberry, who sophomore, can play first base as well, but typically a pitcher. Last time out 3 days ago, went 2 innings in relief against Binghamton Tuesday night. Gave up a couple hits, no earned runs. And Mitch Voigt, first pitch swinging all the way back to the warning track. That'll one hop off the wall. And a stand-up double for the freshman, Mitch Voigt. And the line continues to move for the Wolverines.
Wow. It is really impressive to see these young freshmen just taking complete control of this offense. Mitch Voigt, an integral part of the rally happening in the fourth inning now with a double off the center field wall. That center field wall is 395 feet. He shot that ball 380 feet, one-hopping that wall. Now you're putting Jonathan Kim back up, who had that single to score with the bases loaded and no outs in the last inning. So he's having an opportunity again to tally another RBI with Mitch Voigt in scoring position here with 1 out.
Any other part of the ballpark, that may have been gone for Mitch Voigt. And now Jonathan Kim rips one into right field. Mitch Voigt rounding third. There will be no play at the plate. And another run crosses home for the Wolverines, now into double digits scoring. And another RBI for Jonathan Kim.
Coach Jonathan Kim's been fantastic today. He had an RBI single past the third baseman in the last inning, now going the other way, going past the second baseman, scoring Mitch Voigt. That ball was a slow enough dribbler that it gave Mitch Voigt enough time to round third with no throw back home. And Jonathan Kim stays at first now, just continuing the line, putting Cody Jeffress back up, who's had 2 really hard hit balls to this point in this game.
Checking on Kim now, Throneberry. In relief of Morales, who got rocked. And Cody Jeffress, 1 for 2 today with a double, has scored a couple of runs. If you remember, hit that double into shallow right field. And what might have been a single for most others, Jeffress, using his speed on the base paths, extended that one into a double. And a lot of speed in this lineup for the Wolverines as he rips another one almost identical to his previous double. That'll be another double for Jeffress, and Jonathan Kim being held up at third by the third base coach. So advancing to third is Jonathan Kim. And only 1 out here in the bottom of the 5th for the Wolverines. That'll bring up Tito Flores and Cody Jeffress starting to really get it going here.
Of course, and it's kind of important to note now the mercy rule rules here in college baseball. If a team's up by 15 runs after the 5th inning, that game would be stopped. Michigan's currently up by 8 here in the 5th inning. If the team's up by 10 runs after the 7th inning, the game would be stopped by mercy rule. So Michigan has opportunity, 2 more runs scored. They're able to maintain that lead for 2 more innings. The game will be ended early here, and that's something that neither probably one of us could have assumed or thought of at the beginning of this game before this game had started.
I mean, how based on how the first couple of innings went, who would have thought here in the bottom of the 5th we're even mentioning the words mercy rule? Of course, 7
in favor of Michigan.
In favor of Michigan, yeah. Of course, 7 runs needed to get to that point still. And Throneberry to Tito Flores, that's strike 1.
As I was mentioning in the last inning about Joey Velasquez before he came up to the plate, this would be a great time for Tito Flores to finally get some confidence back in that bat. 0 for 2 on the day, but with 2 runners in scoring position here with 1 out and a hitter's count, 2-1. Tito Flores is in a really good spot right now to at least get on base and possibly have 1 or 2 RBIs, even 3 if he hits a home run. and just increase this lead even more, and of course increase his confidence in turn.
Looping breaking ball in there for the strike to Flores. Throneberry only appeared in 3 games last year as a freshman. Already making his 5th appearance here in his sophomore year, so the role is growing for Connor Throneberry. Pitch to Flores is hit high into right field. That'll be a routine flyout for Flores. And tagging up, coming home is Jonathan Kim. He'll slide in safely.
And back-to-back innings now, Tito Flores, sacrifice fly, knows exactly what to do. That one's a little more shallow than the one last inning, but Jonathan Kim on third base had a lot of speed. And then also Mitch Voigt was able to run to third base. So now you have both guys advancing, 2 outs. Ted Burton up to the plate. Ted Burton already had ripped a double last inning with 2 RBIs. So everything right now is working for the Wolverines. They have now increased their lead to 9.
And that was Cody Jeffress advancing over to third base.
My apologies.
And now Ted Burton at the plate with 2 outs. Lead almost up to double digits. 9-run lead here for the Wolverines. Inching closer to what we have to imagine would be a victory at this point.
I wouldn't say that yet. Michigan was on the flip side of this against Akron on Wednesday. They were down 9-1. Had to come all the way back. They did still lose 11-10, but they made that game very interesting. So, of course, in college baseball, no lead's too big unless there is a mercy rule at play, and that is why I had to mention those rules.
That's a great point, Jake. On Tuesday night against Akron, Wolverines were preparing for Big Ten play. Last game before Big Ten play, they fell down in that game 9-1 in the 3rd inning. Swinging on here by Burton, that's fouled out of play. They fell down 8 runs in the 3rd inning before battling back, ultimately losing that game 11-10. And they chipped away a couple runs in the 4th, couple runs in the 5th. Ted Burton hit a 3-run homer in the 9th, but it just wasn't quite enough. And their record dropped to 9-11 on Tuesday evening.
Of course, in college baseball, the only way most of these Big Ten teams are making it into the NCAA tournament is by winning the Big Ten tournament. So those non-conference games, although important in theory, are not as important when it comes to the final stands at the end of the season. So Michigan up here 11-2 obviously is a much more important win if they're able to pull this one out than they were even on Tuesday against Akron.
Different levels of competition in the early goings of these seasons for these non-conference games for both sides. Of course, Penn State's faced a couple of Ivy League teams and some different non-conference competition on both sides. Hard to get a gauge on the makeup of these teams, as that is ball 4 to Ted Burton, so he'll take his base, and that'll bring up Joe Longo, the DH, who hit a deep long ball into left field his last time up.
Yeah, 100%. And as you were just mentioning, with the different levels of competition, Penn State had faced number 17 Miami. They lost twice to them. They faced number 15 North Carolina. And then Michigan just went to Houston 3 weeks ago, and they had faced 3 ranked opponents there in Louisville, Texas Tech, and TCU. So both teams have now had their fair share of ranked teams, but obviously both teams losing those 3 games, those 3 ranked teams. These are the games that count. These are the games that matter in the Big Ten, and that's why they're facing off today here in Ann Arbor.
We are so happy to finally be in the Big Ten portion of this schedule. And like you said, I don't want to read too much into the records in the early going. 12-5, Penn State has played a couple of teams that you would consider a little bit weaker. And perhaps, regardless of the schedule, teams are just trying to figure out their orders, get into their rhythm, figure out who they're going to be relying on in terms of pitching. Connor Throneberry, strike 2 in there to Joe Longo.
And Michigan had a few tough losses too. They lost to Oakland University just a week and a half ago. They lost to Akron, of course, on Tuesday. So definitely competition that they view as a little below where they should be. Losing those games is a really big reality check, especially at the beginning of the season, and especially for a first-year coach in Tracy Smith. And you're right, just trying to figure out those lineups, trying to figure out that pitching rotation, how to utilize the bullpen. Everything is still being kind of figured out, and now as we enter Big Ten play, this is usually where the teams are going to kind of go the same way for the rest of the season.
getting ringed up there as Joe Longo got him looking out of the hand of Connor Throneberry to get out of the inning. So a couple of runners stranded for the Wolverines, but they do plate 2 more runs and now lead the Big Ten opener against Penn State by a score of 11-2. As that wraps up the 5th inning, and we will head back out there for the 6th inning in just a moment. Connor O'Halloran still on the mound for the Wolverines. We'll be right back. Back onto the mound is Connor Throneberry for the Nittany Lions. And Joey Velasquez, first pitch swinging, that's foul. Over the break, Jake mentioned Michigan pitchers likely trying to be saved for Coach Tracy Smith in his first year at the helm for the Wolverines. First game of a 3-game series in the Big Ten opener. And would like to save his arms if they can, maybe not play the complete game. Get going with that mercy rule, like you mentioned.
Of course, and you have still Connor O'Halloran out there. He's very capable of continuing on in this game. Expect him probably to come out here in the 7th inning. So, as you're right, if they can score 1 more run and hold Penn State to 1 run, then you can get out of this game with only 1 starting pitcher used. Save all your relief pitchers for the games after today.
And a shallow ball into right field. That drops for the head. Joey Velasquez will round first and make his way into second base, but he is tagged out. A great throw from the right fielder, Billy Gerlot, and nabs the runner. Velasquez trying to extend that base hit into a double.
Yeah, Velasquez tried to mimic his teammates as we see the replay here, just getting him on the leg easily. Great tag there, too, by the Penn State infielder, Jay Harry. But you're right, Velasquez doesn't have the speed that his teammates have, so he was trying to stretch that like Cody Jeffress did earlier on in this game, and even like Mitch Voigt did too. But Velasquez is easily tagged out there, and really nice heads-up play there too by the outfielders and Harry to tag him out.
Dribbler to the second baseman by Jake Marty, and that's a routine ground out for out number 2 in the top of the 6th. Excuse me, the bottom of the 6th. Yeah, Velasquez hit that ball pretty softly. I think he thought he would have the time to make that a double based on how soft that ball was hit. But like you said, not tremendous speed. A powerful guy, and was tagged out. First pitch swinging, lined up the middle by Gabe Sotrace, and that is a pleasant sight for a guy that has been struggling with the bat.
Yeah, Gabe Sotrace, as we were saying, had only 3 hits in 33 at-bats. He had 2 walks today, went 0 for 1 for his 1 at-bat that didn't result in a walk, so 3 for 34, finally getting that hit. Nice single up the middle that was routine, very easy going. Finally got himself on base for a nice 2-out single. And now you have Mitch Voigt back up to the plate, and these 2 freshmen at the bottom of this lineup have been electric today. So we'll see if Mitch Voigt and Jonathan Kim can do something here.
Sotrace perhaps feeding off of the energy of his teammates. The offensive firepower has been on full display the last couple of innings. 10 combined runs in the 4th and 5th innings. And Mitch Voigt up to the plate, 2 for 3 in his own right today. The 1-1 to Mitch Voigt, big swing and a miss for strike 2.
And this will be very crucial for Penn State to get out of this inning if they can get out of it with no runs. Throneberry just trying to squeeze 1 more strike in here.
And got him swinging to wrap up the inning. Couple solid innings in relief here for Connor Throneberry. Puts Mitch Voigt away on strikes to wrap up the 6th inning. 12 hits for the Wolverines compared to the 3 by Penn State. Michigan dominating 11-2 as we head to the 7th inning.